Good afternoon. On behalf of the Business Studies Department, I welcome Head of the Department, Dr. Habiba Ma'am, Head of the Sections, and my dear colleague in the webinar on case development and writing. While case study writing may seem easy at first glance, but developing an effective case study is an art. Like other skills, case study writing requires time and planning. Otherwise, may result in suboptimal results. Additionally, case studies have been proven to be an effective instructional method in business schools to foster learning among students, as it compels them to step into the shoes of other decision makers and come up with the solutions. Students demand ever more relevant and challenging material, and teachers often need to design or customize cases to their classes. The ability to generate own cases to use in the classroom can also greatly enhance teaching impact and enjoyment as a teacher. This webinar focuses on developing a confidence in case writing and providing a practical advice and helping the teachers to produce quality cases faster within making an effective use of the existing material and resources. And to enlighten on this topic, we have invited Professor Bharti S. Gopal Ma'am for the session. A special welcome to Professor Bharti Ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting
Thank you.
our invitation. Thank you, ma'am, for
Thank
accepting our invitation. And it is indeed a great privilege and pleasure to have you here. Before we proceed to the webinar, I take the opportunity to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Bharti S. Gopal ma'am. Professor Bharti S. Gopal has been in the field of academics for over 2 decades. Her area of teaching have been in the domain of marketing. Professor Bharti's association with the pedagogic method case study started in year 2005. She dedicated 4 years on teaching how to develop case studies across management topics. This resulted in developing more than 100 case studies related material, which is still available on the Case Center UK and ICFI repository on case studies. Professor Bharti went to an academics in teaching in year 2009 at Christ University, Bangalore. Here, she has extensively used case-based teaching method. She is also a trained faculty team at school management on using the case studies, operationalized the use of Harvard case studies, and launched a course that was taught only through case studies. She also created a module as a part of student induction program on case studies. She was invited by several other departments across the university to train both students and faculty on case study method. She has been a resource person on case study teaching and writing workshop for other business schools, business management department across India and international. At Christ, Professor Bharti set up a center for case research development which offered training program and review support the case writers. She has also started an annual case study conference to motivate faculty in India and across international level to develop the case studies. At ICFI Business School, she continues her journey and conducts an annual colloquium on case study writing, teaching, and conferences for case study writers that culminate into a competition. Professor Bharti is also on a review team of international case study journals. She was also nominated for the Outstanding Case Teacher Award by the Case Center UK and was also invited to offer courses at Vivid University, Belgium in its International Staff Week, Manchester Metropolitan University, UK under UU Faculty Exchange Program. Just before this session, I was having a just personal interaction, and to add on to her achievement, just now she has informed me that two of her students have got the third prize and the first prize in the IM Bangalore case study writing competition. So just to add to the recent achievement, this was to be there. So I'm really sure that it is a quite impressive profile, ma'am, and we all are eager to listen to you. So without much of it, let's begin our session. All the participants are requested to post their queries in the comment section. And I will request Bharti ma'am to address all those queries at the end of the session. Now I request Professor Bharti ma'am to commence the session. Over to you, ma'am.
thank you, Professor Preeti, and thanks for inviting me. It's wonderful to interact with faculty who always want to know more about case study, How do you teach through this, teaching method? How do you write your own case studies? How do you inspire students through case method of teaching? No matter which part of the world they are from, we all share the same, I think, issues in the class. We all share the same objective of ensuring our students are placed well in their careers. So therefore, we are all connected in a very common way with respect to, as a business school, as business school fraternity, how we want to groom our students. So I thank you all for, developing that requirement to know more about case study rather than me being here to tell you all about case study. Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, so let me start with the session. And as we go along, I will, in fact, clarify any doubts. Or as Professor Preeti was just mentioning, I will probably, at the end of the session, answer the questions. Okay. Yeah. Just give me one moment. Okay. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Okay. I'm not able to see it. Okay. Um,
No worries, ma'am. It's completely visible to us. Thank you so much,
okay.
ma'am.
It's visible, right? Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Now let me tell you something. Let me begin by sharing my experience about students, what they learn from case study. So let's understand one thing, whether we are teaching through case studies or whether we are writing case studies, the subject of our activity is always students, right? What will students learn from this, case session in my class? What will students learn from the case study that I'm writing? So this always should be at the back of your mind. Now, let me, I have tried many methods of teaching, but let me tell you one thing, the recall value of lessons when students participate and sit through the case study session is extremely high. The naughty students who are very intelligent, but they are extremely disinterested when you're doing your lecture class. They are the ones who are going to open up. The students who come with a little experience into the class, they will be thrilled to participate in a session like this. The students who don't have experience but they want to feel what is happening in the industry, so for them they don't have to really go to the industry. So yes, you have projects, you have internship programs and so on, but most importantly on a regular basis, opening up their minds to what is happening in industry, that can definitely be driven through the case study method. So today, when students meet me, they don't remember what I taught. They always remember what I discussed in a case class. So usually the conversation is around case studies. And they tell me that whatever case studies that I've taught is something that they see day in and day out. So that's the recall value of case studies. And that's the, things that a case study teaches, a skill that case study teaches is something that you really can't drive through theory sessions. Like, for example, one of the biggest takeaways of case study method is the decision making skill. I'm sure that a lot of books have been written on decision making, right? There's a lot of theories and a lot of textbooks, a lot of sessions that keep happening. But that's a skill. It's like cycling. You will have to keep practicing, right? And that can be done only through the case study method. So they go to a finance class, they have some 5 case studies. They go to a marketing class, they see 10 case studies. So likewise, for in a 3-year program or a 4-year program, the more the number of case studies that a student gets exposed to, the more you will be bringing the industry close to the student, and the more he will understand what the corporate talks about. So this is a whole idea about how case study actually helps students. So whether you're teaching through case studies or writing a case study for class usage, always keep in mind, what will the students learn from this case? What is the takeaway from this case? What will make the student remember this case if I meet him after 10 years? So that's the key point that you should keep in mind, whether you are teaching through case studies or writing case studies. Okay, now let's coming back to this. So there's a little bit of science in case writing, and there's a little bit of art. The science part is how a case study, like for example, if I were to ask you, is there a science behind writing an essay? I'm sure all of you will agree with me, and you're going to tell me that there is a introduction, there is a flow that built in the case, and there is a body, and then there is a conclusion, and then you are going to explain each of these sections. Something very similar to that in case writing. So there is a certain science, the use of language, okay, the use of words, the use of verbs and adjectives, okay, the placement of data, numerical data, okay, how you build the narrative flow. There's a certain science behind it, okay. Though this science is not exact science, but still, a case study should look like a case study. It should not look like something else. A case study, a case study that you have designed for teaching a particular course should look like a case study and not a research paper. As simple as that. Similarly, there is this case writing is also an art, because um, not everybody can get the nuances of writing a case quick. Some of them might be very good in English, but they struggle to write case study in very simple English. There are some people I have met, some faculty members I have met from other institutions, prolific researchers. They write very good papers and they're published, in some of the best journals. But then they simply, or don't take to case writing. Okay. So therefore, there is certain art. Okay, certain the way you give a twist to a fact, the way you make the opening very interesting, the way you ensure the reader stays with you throughout the end of the case. So all of this part is art. Okay. So what we're going to learn today is not about the art and science, but most importantly, what comprises the art and what comprises the science part. Only by practice, you will actually be able to bring in the art part and the science part. But to a certain extent, I'll be able to, bring home the point that there is an art part of case writing and there's a science part of case writing. All right. Okay. I will not take much time on this. Usually, I would love to know what is your expectation. What would you want to do after finishing this event or this particular session? What do you think will happen after you finish this session? Will you start writing? Will you start teaching? What will you do? Can I just? I'm just opening the chat box. I had to check if anybody has. Yeah. So, what will be your expectations? What do you think you would have learned by the end of this session? Okay. Definitely writing the case. Yeah. Okay. So, I will probably answer this question myself. Teaching through case, Preeti, it might be a little difficult about teaching through the case method from this particular session, because so if I have to talk about teaching, so right from identifying the fact that you need a case, identifying the case from the many repositories that we have, then how do you prepare for your case class? What all you should read? Okay, what should be your teaching plan? And these kind of things is again a totally different workshop, and also handholding. So I will not touch upon. I will definitely be talking about teaching through case, because writing a case and not having the case to be used for teaching is really a waste of time. Okay, So these two are very closely intertwined. So I will be touching upon the teaching aspect of the case, but most importantly, this entire session will only focus on writing and where you can publish. Okay, yeah. Using the case in our assessments, yes, ma'am, definitely, yeah. I didn't actually put rubrics on this set of slides, but I can send the rubrics to all of you through Professor Preeti. I can send it across to you. Yeah. I can talk to you about rubrics. Definitely, yes. Okay, so I'm just going to, because of the shortage of time, I'm just going to close the chat box, go back to my. So basically, when I want to talk about case studies and case study teaching, I would definitely look at, what the, just give me one moment. Okay, so basically we'll focus more on writing part. Okay, and in the passing we will talk about case teaching, because case teaching is very strongly intertwined with case writing. So another thing that I also want to talk to you about is the what type of case studies are we talking. So there is actually what the case study method, which is a part of qualitative research. Okay, so this is largely used in social sciences research, especially in the field of psychology. It is heavily used, and also in applied, studies like marketing and all HR and OB related areas. There is this method called the case study method that is used. Now we are not talking about that. We are talking about a teaching case. A teaching case study is one which is actually a pedagogic tool that is designed to deliver certain outcomes for the students. Okay, so we are going to talk about the teaching case study. So in the context of organizations, okay, what should be a case study like? So we are talking about B school, we are talking about B school courses, we are talking about B school curriculum. So in the context, and you're preparing your students to join the corporate, right? So in the context of a corporate role or corporate job or a corporate career, or to fit into the corporate ecosystem, what kind of case studies should you be writing? Okay, so what is a case study in the context of an organization? So let me give you a small, or we can call it a definition. Okay, a case study is basically a narrative. Okay, it's a narrative. What does it narrate? It actually narrates a real life situation, and this real life situation is something that has happened in the life of the business, life of the organization. So you can ask me a question. Can I write, a situation of a CEO? Yes, of course you can. Can I write a situation of a marketing manager? Yes, I can. But the point is, you don't write it from a personal perspective. You have to look at the implications of what this person did in the context of the organization. So let us say the CEO took this decision. CEO had options to take decision 1, 2, 3, 4, and he went ahead and took decision 4. What is its impact on the organization? Okay, so you can definitely keep the focus on one person or a set of people in the case, but the impact of those decisions or whatever you are going to discuss in the case should be on the organization. Is the organization's growth crippled because of this guy? Is the organization going to become bankrupt because of the CEO? So these kind of implications we should talk when we are talking about real life situations. Okay, and of course there should be characters. You know why there should be characters? Because you know why people watch movies. We watch movies because we empathize with characters. Okay, and we also see a bigger image of ourselves on the screen, right? So by placing characters, the students will stay connected to the case. So and you know what, this empathy building is again a big takeaway from case study. So you're going to tell the student, if you are the marketing manager, what would you do? If you're the CEO, would you do that? So this kind of discussions that you have to drive in the class is when you bring the characters to life into the case study. But ensure that you don't bring in a big team of characters because the students will be very confused. But the key decision makers, like the production head or the marketing head or the CEO or maybe a consultant. So these characters who have a key decision making role can definitely be part of the case study. And as I said earlier, it's a narrative of a real life situation which actually is asking you to take decisions. So there are decision making scenarios built in the case. Yeah. See, if there are no decision making scenarios, or if you're not questioning a decision which is already taken, then it's an open shut case. There's nothing to learn. Okay. So you will have, if you have to bring in the debate inside the classroom, you need to bring in the decision making situations. Okay. Also, further more elaboration on what a case study is. A case study, like an essay, has does not have a monotonous reading. It is divided into different sections, and each section moves you to the next section. Okay, so that's what we are talking about. A very good narrative, which will move the. It's a very nice. It's like reading a Sherlock Holmes story. Yeah, or a Agatha Christie novel. So you open a detective novel and you see a murder scene that happened right in the beginning, and then the characters are introduced, and slowly, you keep on looking at the evidence, and so this exactly is a case study. So this narrative and bringing in, different sections and moving the story forward is also an important characteristic feature of a case study. And what else? We have to build in a little logic in the case study. Either you talk logic in the form of chronology. This happened in 2005, and by 2010 the company did this. To 2020 the company is struggling. So you bring in logic through a series set of event, chronological set of events, or you bring in logic by saying in this department this is what happened. They ended up buying cheap raw material. Because of that, the promise that was made by the marketing department to the customer was not met. So you bring in these kind of issues from a different perspective, from a domain's perspective. But nevertheless, irrespective of how you want to do it, there should definitely be a logical sequencing of thought. Okay. Then the third thing is very important. You don't have to point out to a analysis. Okay. You don't have to point out to a theoretical concept. You should not point out to any solution in the case. So all of that has to evolve in the classroom. Okay. So in fact, you can talk about this in the teaching note, but not in the case study. So this is actually very, very important for us to understand, because a case does not provide analysis. The case opens up analysis in the classroom. Okay. Okay. Let me move on. A quick history of how this case evolved, okay, or rather how case studies came into management schools, or management teaching. Actually, if you go back in history, you will find that case studies were used in the field of medicine. They were used in the field of law, but in the field of medicine, it was mostly about looking at symptoms, looking at what kind of diagnosis was done, and what was the medicine that was prescribed. And then you actually look at other cases and say, okay, in the past this is what happened. In the field of law is also very similar. Okay, you look at evidence, you look at people who have committed the crime or not committed the crime, what kind of verdict was given. So basically cases are a point of reference both in the field of medicine and law. In the 1900s, for the very first time, a professor in Harvard decided that in a class where he has a lot of students from, and most of the students from industry background, so he decided he will create a fictitious problem and take it to the case class, and that's how case studies started to be used in classroom discussions. Today, a good B school should definitely use multiple pedagogies, and one of them being the case study method. Okay, So this is the history of case studies. Okay, in coming to India, let me also talk a little bit about how much case studies have been used in India. In India, the very first set of case studies were being used by premier institutions like IIM Ahmedabad, and IIM Kolkata was not very case study focused, more field and theory and lectures and discussions. IIM Bangalore also was very active in using case studies. ICFI, the institution that I belong to, was one of the first private institutions that started to talk about case studies, both in terms of usage in the classroom and also writing. Okay, and way back in early 2000s, they institutionalized case study usage and case study writing. Case study centers were set up where people were trained on how to write case studies, and so today ICFI boasts of 3,500 plus case studies, and we are the third largest contributors to the case center in UK, which is the world's largest repository of case studies. Okay, so yes, more and more institutions will have to adopt this practice of usage and writing, so that students get the benefit out of it. Okay, and then is it only so? See, we'll also have to understand the dynamics of the ecosystem in which we are a part of, right? Um, we don't belong to the Ivy League schools where we get students with a certain set of skills and knowledge level. But we may have to deal with a lot of students who have difficulties in learning, who have not been exposed to the case study method, who probably will have other learning difficulties too. So we have to question ourselves: what are we teaching? Are we teaching skills or knowledge? In fact, case studies should be definitely focused on decision making skills, logical thinking, decision making, problem identification, problem solving, using the data to analyze. So this is definitely the most important skills of a case study method. But if your students have understood that this is how a company works, if your students have understood this is how the industry works, these are the industry dynamics, this is how Five Forces works in this industry, this is what happens in this small state, this is how decisions are taken, so they just get the knowledge, which is fair enough, okay, which is good enough. So therefore, as institutions who have our own set of problems, I think we should be happy if we are even able to impart knowledge through case studies to our students. Okay, but definitely I would say, if you are to ask me between the two, which one would you choose, I will just definitely close my eyes and say skills, because that is what case study is meant for. It is not meant for knowledge. So a case study is not like the teacher reads it, makes a presentation, and takes it to the class and say, hey, look guys, this is what the company did. No. Okay, but through the discussion, some people, some students sharpened their skills of decision making, some other students understood how this industry works. I think that is fair enough. Okay, and then quick discussion about popular case study developers. Harvard is definitely one of the torchbearers. Okay. Apart from that, we have Richard Ivey School, we have INSEAD in France, we have IMD Switzerland, we have London Business School, we have a whole lot of schools from China which are extremely good with case study development. Then in India, we have IIM Bangalore, which is also coming out with very good case studies. IIM Ahmedabad definitely is there, and of course ICFI. So yeah, there are quite a lot of institutions which are developing case studies. Okay, so as an institution, you should also think of joining this league of case study developers, not just for the benefit of faculty, but also for the benefit of the institution and the students. Yeah. Okay. Now, what type of case studies are written? Okay. because this should help you understand where you should actually place your topic. Okay, so one is there is one case study called the business case study. This is something you should not do. Okay, I just put it there because a business case study is one where the business is saying, okay, look, this is how the problem was solved because of my product. So when you go to a company website and when you click on case studies, the company would have presented how different problems were solved because of the solution that they offered. So that's what we mean by when we say case study. Yeah. What typically we do as B school faculty, management school faculty is write a teaching case study. As I said, a teaching case study is one which is primarily written for students particular to a very specific course and a concept and has clear learning outcomes. Okay, so that's a teaching case study. Yeah. Yes, you can write a case study on secondary data. Harvard also has a lot of case studies on secondary data. But if you have to write a case study on primary data, let's say, for example, in Oman, you have an entrepreneur who has made it very big and you want to write a case study about him and you get an appointment and talk to him and write down the details about how we started and things like that. Yes, you can write. Only thing is you need a no objection certificate from the entrepreneur and his company, and you can definitely publish it. So the point is you can write a case study which is based on primary data or secondary data. And you can write definitely good case studies with secondary data. It's not that you write only good case studies with primary data. Yeah. Also, you can specifically write case studies related to your domain areas, respective domain areas. Okay, you can whichever domain area you are interested in, you are good at, you can definitely focus there. But a lot of case studies also are cross-disciplinary in nature. Okay. Also, if you feel that you are looking at very good lessons for your students, how a company started, how a company grew, and after reaching a particular stage started to have a downfall. So if you're thinking of how much lessons are there for your students, you can break your case into part A, B, C, D, etc. And you can say part A is growth, part A is how it started, how it shaped its business model. Part B is how the company started to grow, how they reached out to their markets. Okay. And part C can be probably what decisions it took so that the downfall actually began. So that's how you can divide the case studies into part A, B, and C so that you don't become monotonous in one big case. See, what happens is when you have multiple issues in one case, how it started, how it grew, and what led to its fall. So there are so many things to talk in the class. So if you have a 90 minutes class or a 2-hour class, it's very difficult to fit in the discussion in a. So it's always better to write the case study in part one, part two, part three, exactly like how they make the movies. Yeah. Can you write fictional case studies? Yeah, you can, but you should make it believable. See, another thing is, let me also tell you, students love to read about the brands that they use. Students love to read about the companies that they know. Okay. Today, popular companies in India, which students would love to talk about or read, is Apple, Samsung. Okay, and there are whole lot of brands that have evolved and grown in India. So like Cred, Swiggy, Zomato, again Uber, okay, Ola. All of these are some of these are Indian examples. So students would definitely love to be a part of any discussion which involves the brands that they know, right? And if you write a XYZ company did this, or some give us some fictitious name and say this is what they did, so the students connectivity might not be there. But yes, it is finally this is where the art part comes. So you can create a fictional name and very creatively bring in characters, numerical data, and build a case. So this is the art part of writing the case. Okay. So yeah, over a period of time, you perfect the science part first. I think the art part will eventually come to the seasoned good case writers. Yeah. You can also write a conversational case. I would actually suggest you not to do it immediately. But you know what? Richard Ivy School, they make wonderful case studies, short case studies, and easy for students to read. Okay, it's like a conversation between two, gentlemen sitting across a coffee table, and the entire case is about this conversation. Okay, so the entire case is a dialogue between these two people. So that these are also very interesting for students. They connect with them a lot, and they also bring in that element of discussion in the classroom. Okay, and then yeah, so sometimes when you are looking after a particular event, looking at a particular event for to develop a case, you'll feel that yesterday you read the newspaper and this is what happened with the company, with the brand, and 2 days later you open the newspaper again, you find a different thing that has happened. So sometimes the events are constantly evolving. Okay, so at this point of time it's always good to stop the case. If you feel that the case, the lessons can be very well taught, if you stop the case in February 2020, see, after Feb 2020, lot of things change for the entire world, right? Because of pandemic. So, and you don't want any influence of this event to be brought out in the classroom, because you're very clear what you want to teach. So you can stop the case at Feb 2020. So that's what I'm trying to say when I say move back in time. So if you feel that the event is constantly evolving, you can move back in time and stop the case right there. Yeah. Yes, also you can simply convert your consultancy experience. Let's say you have done a lot of consultancy projects. If your client is okay, you can take his permission and develop a case, or you can hide a lot of details related to the client, and bring in a little fiction and things like that, and convert that into a case study. A lot of internships, students will be really interested in that. So internships can also be converted into case studies. I can give you classic example. Sab Miller, I'm sure many of you know about Sab Miller, is a global brand that makes that manufactures alcohol. So we have Sab Miller's factories in India too. So we had two students, not in the same year but different years. One student first took up internship in Sab Miller, and he was given a problem related to operations, logistics and operations. So actually, what would happen is, from wine shops and bars, all these empty bottles would be collected by the company, and it would come in trucks and get dumped at the backyard of the factory. And then they had to hire labor to sort it out. Okay, and then it gets cleaned and it goes into the cleaning process and refilling and all of those things. Now, this backyard was a very chaotic place. This student actually was supposed to offer a solution as to how to increase the efficiency of people who work here and reduce the time taken to sort the bottles and let them go into the cleaning automation process. Yeah, and that was the case. And then once he wrote the case, it was sent to the company. The company was very impressed. They hired him. Then 2 years later, one girl joined Sab Miller for HR internship, and the company, in fact, assigned her to come up with a lot of programs on gender diversity. So they wanted more and more women to join Sab Miller, not in the factory, but in the corporate. But they were, see, in India, the social cultural dynamics are very different, and many parents were not happy about their girls, their daughters working in, with the alcohol company. And because of this, they were not able to bring in women into their, as a part of their workforce. So this girl did a lot of gender diversity programs, and as a part of that, she again wrote a case, and she also got offered a job. I have more such stories. You know, another student. There is a brand called Royal Enfield. Okay, we call it Harley Davidson of India. So Royal Enfield again. One of the students wrote a case. He didn't work in Royal Enfield as an intern, but he wrote a case about Royal Enfield along with his teacher, and this got published, and it was copy of it was sent to the Royal Enfield factory, and they hired him as a Royal Enfield manager. So that's the kind of confidence students also get when they start working with you on case studies, and this is a good way of building the connect with the industry. Okay. So yes, so how do you start writing a case? Okay. So more than that, what should you write about? I'll talk about this very, very specifically about what you should write about, but there's some broad themes. Like for example, you can focus on a problem for a company. You can focus on a good practice. The company had this problem. This is what the company did, and therefore it became a good practice. So therefore, these benchmark practices we can write about. So, or a problem solution. The company had this problem. These were all the solutions they were thinking about, and you can stop the case there. And the discussion happens in the class about solutions. A lot of industry benchmark practices can be written again as a case. The company's milestones having achieved can be written as a case. I myself developed a case on Marlboro, which became 50 when it attained 50 years, and what the company was doing, because there was a lot of restrictions placed on cigarette advertising, and that was the theme of that particular case. So that milestone that a company reaches can also be converted into a case, but there should be definitely a decision making dilemma. Stories of growth, extremely good. Stories of decline, much better, because there is nobody who is going to talk about loss. People don't talk about failures, right? And failures are the ones which teach a lot of lessons, both in personal life and also in the corporate life. So I think these are all some of the broad themes that you can include while deciding what should I write about. Now, very specifically, let me tell you what are the topics that you should write about. Okay, just give me one moment. Okay, so let me introduce you to the process of writing a case. Okay, how do you start? So many a time we talk about writer's block. In a case study also there's a writing process. There's also a writer's block, but of a different kind. It's not about putting the pen on paper. So the first question that you will ask is, what should I write about? Okay. You read the newspaper today, you will find something very interesting. Should I write about it? But the question you should ask is, if I write about this, where will I put it in my course? Where will it fit? Which course am I teaching? What is the concept I'm teaching? Where is the fitment coming? So this is very important to ask yourself. Okay. So choosing what to write is the first writer's block you'll face. The rest of it is easy. Okay. So choosing what to write, what is the topic that I should write about? What should be the story that I should build in my case study? So that we broadly call as trigger. What is the trigger for my case study? I'll talk about triggers in the next slide. I just want to make you understand the process. And once you have finalized the trigger, then you collect data, you start writing. So you have to give a structure to the case. What should come first? How should the flow be? So structuring the case and starting to write the case study. Okay. Then you'll also have to spend a lot of time in editing and formatting. This is also extremely important. And the most important process of verifying what you wanted to write and what you have written, and what are the learning outcomes, is to do something called case testing. Okay. So this is the process without testing, whether you have written the case study for the learning outcomes that you had decided. You'll never get to know unless until you do a case testing in the class. Okay. So this is the general process of case study writing. Okay. Um, I will not confuse you with many more details. I'll just, continue from this. So let's talk about how do you identify triggers? What do you do for trigger? What is this trigger? A trigger in the context of case study writing is nothing but a event. Okay, it's an event, and this event can be both within the organization or it can be external to the organization. Like for example, the government has come up with a new rule. Okay, so that might be affecting the organization. So that's an event that has happened in the external environment. Or the pandemic itself is an event that has happened in the external environment. So that's an event. Again, in the if you look at internal, okay, so event in the internal environment could be changes at the CEO level, okay, launching a new brand, a product failure, distribution strategy you want to frame. So all of these could be events that are happening internally. So one is identifying the events. Second thing is you have to check, will this become a good case study? What will my students learn from this case? Okay, so this is very, very important. This is a very important step because it's like this. You choose a bad idea will become a bad case, and bad case will not be accepted by anyone. Yeah. So therefore, it's very important for us to understand, identify good events and check whether these events can become good case study. I will give you a checklist. You can keep it with you and say, okay, I have this, right? So yeah. So this business event could be related to practices, existing practices, change in practices, re-engineering processes, or company did something and these are the outcomes. So it can cover a whole range of consequences. Yeah. So a lot of events, some like for instance, say change of CEO, acquisition, merger, pricing and acquisition. Okay, moving to a new country, launching a product in a new country, or a new competitor entering the country, local market. So all of these could be a lot of events. So so where do you have to get inspiration from? Just open the newspaper, just open the business newspaper and you will get a lot of events on which you can write case studies about. Yeah. So but yeah, so one is the newspapers, both offline and online. Also there are very specific sites related to economics or marketing or advertising or something related to supply chain or IT related. Let's say, for example, on fintech, there are some dedicated sites. So there are less dedicated sites which are based on certain themes that we teach in the class. We can definitely keep logging in there quite often to check whether there are new ideas on which you can develop case studies. Other things are like, you have these top magazines like the Time magazine, Business Week, okay, CNN Money, Economist, Fortune, okay, all of these, BBC, all of these are there. So which can also be, a source of inspiration for you. The third thing is, of course, sorry, fourth thing is, of course, the projects that you are a part of, consultancy projects, or the projects your students are part of, like internships. And you can also look at, if interviews with business heads, okay, these also can be a good source of information for you to decide whether you should write a case study about that. And the most important thing is okay, a lot of conversations, okay, what can I say, I can definitely tell you that a coffee table conversation resulted into a case. So it so happened that when I was actively writing case studies, In my team there was a very young lady, and she was she was a good case writer, and she just inquired me about my daughter, who was just about 1 year old. And she said, what does she do at home when you are here? I said, all the time she's watching only one movie, that is Lion King. Every day at least 3 to 4 times I have to play Lion King, and I tried to dissuade her from watching Lion King by playing some other animated cartoon series in India, and she simply refuses to, watch it. And then 2 days later, this girl came back to me and she said, "Look, I did a little research about Indian animation industry and what kind of work is being done here, and what actually are the problems of Indian animation sector." And yeah, which led to a big discussion, and finally we decided to write a case about Indian animation industry. So that's the point that I'm talking about. Okay, so it's very important for us to build a community in our organization which can constantly keep interacting, talking, and maybe some idea will develop for you to come up with a case study. Similarly, a lot of social media triggers. Okay, so recently we had a couple of very recently there was an ad by the Tata Group for their jewelry brand, which resulted into a lot of social media chaos. Okay, so that of course can be one trigger on which you can write case studies. So you have to keep your radar open. You never know where the inspiration is going to come from, and you can think of developing that into a case study. Yeah. So a quick checklist. Okay. What you should avoid, what you should take as a trigger. So how do you qualify triggers? So one is, ensure, see, sometimes the news will appear only once, and then there is absolutely no mention about the news. So then it's news. Okay, you don't get any data beyond that. So when you start looking for more data related to that particular event, you will not get anything. So therefore, you should disqualify such triggers. You should focus on those events which are a evolving story, a running story. And you should also take the decision to stop it. Okay, I'm going to stop it in this month, this year. Okay, after that, whatever events are there, I'm not covering in my case. Only these events I'll cover in my case. So therefore, you should not have only one perspective of the problem. You should have multiple perspectives. You should also have a lot of data to write about the case. So just one event happened, then I go to the company website, get a lot of data about what the company is, when it started, vision, mission, action, and I write a case. No, it does not qualify to be a case. Yeah. So it's very important to ensure that the issue becomes very important in the case. Yeah. Then I don't know how it is in Oman, but in India, so there's a lot of news reporting rather than perspectives about that particular event. Like if you open Business Week or the Time magazine or the Fortune, if any business event that has occurred, so there are multiple perspectives that are looked at, right? But on the other hand, in India, so you have top dailies like the Mint, the Economic Times, Business Line, Business Standard, and so on. And all of these are they report the news. Okay. So in terms of giving multiple perspectives, is very, very limited. Since it is limited, it's very difficult for you to bring in the debate in the case. And that's why I say this perspective reporting is very important. Are there multiple perspectives to this event? If the answer is yes, you should definitely write a case about this. Yeah. The third thing is, and the most important thing is, comprehensive coverage. Is there enough data to write a case? One event happened, the company said, okay, we are declaring our quarter 3 results, we are not doing well, sales went down by 18%. That's it. Why the sales went down by 18%? Is there any data about that? Is there anything that you can talk about it? So yes, so it's very important for us to understand there is a comprehensive coverage of the issue. Okay. And the next is Focus on one issue. Don't focus on too many issues. That issue should be very strong. The Air India bought these many aircrafts and they were not utilized because they were planning to launch new routes, but this did not happen. As a result of it, the cost burden for the company has simply increased. So yeah, so you're talking about one issue, but Air India also has other problems. Customers are not happy. There is some problem with HR. Okay, there's some problem with trade union. So if you put multiple issues in the case, one is what will the student discuss. Okay, there are multiple things to talk about. So bring the students to talk about one key issue. Okay, or maybe two or three connected issues, but not more than that. Okay. Yeah, this is very, very important. See, of course, the business case study should have a narrative, characters, all of that. But most importantly, you should check which subject and which concept can I teach through this case. Otherwise, you tell me, we are all teachers, right? We don't have time. We have to prepare for classes. We have to write research papers. We have to do so many other things. So where is the time for us to write a case which is not connected to my course, right? So you should always look at developing a case which has a conceptual connect to the subject and the topic. If you're teaching brand management, let us say, and let us say, for example, you are talking about brand extension failure. Okay, brand extension failure. How does it affect the parent brand image? Yeah, let us say this is a niche product, niche topic that you have chosen. So therefore, whatever trigger that you have selected, that should have a direct connect to a specific concept in the course that you are teaching. Even if it is not a course that you're teaching, if it is in strategy, don't strategy is again a very vast ocean. Specifically, what in strategy? Are we talking about diversification? Are we talking about supply chain integration? Are we talking about BPR? Are we talking about mergers, demergers? So what are we talking about? So bring the connect to a very specific concept in the in the course. Yeah. And yes, it should definitely have a lesson driver. There should be learning outcomes for the students. What will the student learn from this case? That should be coming out very clearly. Apart from that, geographical setting, is it in Oman? Is it between 2017 to 2019? So this is called setting, geographic setting and time setting. And what is the environment? Are we talking about the industry in Oman? Are we talking about steel industry in Oman? Are we talking about FMCG, consumer packaged goods industry in Oman? Are we talking about globally? Okay, what is the context? And who are the characters? So these are again very important, but please keep in mind the 4 points which I have put it in red are extremely crucial for a trigger to pass through when you start developing a case. Okay. So once the trigger is qualified, next what will you do? So first thing you do is write down the learning objectives of the case. From this case, I will be able to teach the students this concept in brand management. After participating in the discussion, students will be able to understand how brand extensions work, how a brand extension fails. So when you have a failed brand extension, how does it affect the parent brand? So write out this. Yeah. So this actually is your teaching framework. So because you can start writing case without this. Okay, it's not important that you should write it. But when there's a very high possibility with a lot of data that we have on the internet, there's a very high possibility that your case goes in all directions. So when you create the learning objectives, you're actually creating a framework within which you are going to write the case. So this is extremely important when we are when we are starting to develop the case study. And then how do we structure the case? There should be an introduction. See, very simple. Like in essay, there's an introduction, there's a body, there's a conclusion. There's no conclusion. There's a concluding paragraph. But what goes into intro, what goes into body, what goes into the last part is extremely important for us to ask. Okay, let me quickly run through this. Okay, So there are exhibits and annexures which contain a lot of numerical data. Should also be placing footnotes. Let's say, for example, there is a very specific word um, that is cultural specific, and you are writing a case which will be uploaded on ECCH, sorry, the case center in UK, and students from anywhere across the world, teachers from anywhere across the world might use your case study, right? So ensure that some technical terms and some words related to the local language, if you're using in the case, they are explained. Okay. Similarly, end notes you have to largely keep to write down the sources from where you have written the case about. Okay. So this is roughly the structuring of the case. Let me go into each section separately. What do you write in the introduction? So in the introduction actually contains the title, the quote, okay, and body of that particular. Sorry, I think something. Okay, so let's only stick to introduction to the theme. It will contain the opening and the title and quotes. Okay, this body should have moved this side. Okay, I think so. There was some problem with putting the bullet point. So your brief introduction can be as brief as 8 to 10 lines. Okay, 8 to 10 lines. Or you can even build it about 1 page. But keep in mind, don't reveal everything in the introduction. Otherwise, the reader is lost for you. So give him the bare important facts. This is what happened in the company. This is the decision that was taken. As a result of this decision, many people left the company. Now the CEO is thinking what he should do next. Okay, so you get the gist, right? So this is what you actually explain in the introduction. Don't reveal too much. Just give enough information so that the students get an idea of what the case is all about, which company, what is the year that we are talking about, decisions that are related to world scenario, the entire world, global level, or is it specific to a country, who is the key character, what should we discuss. So these kind of ideas students should get. So that's what you will do in the introduction. Also in the introduction, you will give the title of the case. Title is very important. You can keep it very plain. So and so company in 2019. You can do that. But apart from that, you can bring in a little bit of creativity in the title by bringing a little issue of the case. Okay, like for example, what can I? So we wrote a case about problems for Boeing, and we gave the title as Boeing hits a air pocket. Okay, so so that's how you can bring in the issue. Okay, in the title of the case. Marlboro again, for Marlboro, it was doing mass marketing and how the company has quickly moved to using new age, new media and things like that. So the title was Marlboro from mass marketing to new media. So that's how we, created the title. So this is very, very important. And also in the introduction, this is the only place where you can give the quotes. See, the quote should not be random from Nelson Mandela or anybody. It should be connected to the case. So it would be better if the characters that are connected to the issue or the company, they would have said something, right? And that would be there in the public domain. So I use that as a part of the opening quote. So this quote is very important. It could be a quote from the company or the competitor, company and the customer. Okay, so these kind of quotes, so the reader actually gets an idea what exactly the case is being talked about. And then comes the body. Okay, in the body you write about industry, you write about the company. So when we are talking about industry, not necessary that you write everything. So let's say, for example, in the Marlboro case, we didn't write about tobacco industry. We gave a different perspective to this particular section. We said in the industry, what is happening with respect to advertising. Can brands advertise? Are there restrictions? So we focus more on more and more restrictions and the industry being regulated, how their sales is coming down because of these regulations. We focused on that. And then about company, you should write the important milestones of the company. Sometimes companies are so well known, like for example, a Walmart. So you don't have to write the entire history. Okay. So how it started, how it grew, and what are we talking about? Okay. So very quickly you wind up the discussion on the company. Yeah. So what should you write a lot about? It is the issue. So if you are writing 10 pages of a case, at least about 6 pages should be about the issue. Okay. The remaining 4 pages should be consistently talking about the issue. Okay. Otherwise, it will be very disconnected. So 5 to 6 pages of issue is very important. So about 60 to 70% of data that you're putting in the case should all be connected to the case. I mean, to the issue, because issue is the hero of the case. Yeah. Yeah, Preeti, time left 30 minutes. I'm keeping a track of it. Yeah. Okay. And then there is the so in case study we don't have a conclusion. We have a concluding paragraph. It's called closing or concluding paragraph. So we actually remind the reader what he's supposed to do, what is this case all about, what he's supposed to do, and leave out the questions. As in, we don't put the questions. What do you think the company should do? We open the discussion by putting lines like the company head was thinking what he should do next. The CEO was offered these solutions. He was wondering which one to choose. We close it there. Okay. So we don't pose questions. Okay. So that's how the concluding paragraph will have to be. You don't give answers. You don't give out anything, any other extra data. You remind the reader what this company has been doing, what kind of problems. We bring in quotes to, from different kinds of people, to bring in the originality, and then we close the case study. Then there will be a lot of data which you want to give, but in between the case it will be too much of heavy reading. So what you can do is you can place them at the end of the case. If you feel it is very important when reading the case, only the reader has to see that, then yes, we put it in the case. Okay. So otherwise, you place it at the end of the case. Then, of course, I told you about footnotes and endnotes. So technical terms, terms related to a particular language which you happen to use in the case, all needs footnotes. Endnotes primarily we use for putting the sources. Okay, you don't cite a source like the way you do it for a research paper. Okay, for academic journal papers that we write. So we don't cite it like that, but we can place it at the end of the case study so that it does not hamper the free reading pace of the case study. Okay, then how should your writing style be? It should be narrative, as I said earlier, logical flow. Keep the language very simple. Okay, simple English. You should ask, okay, I am understanding what I'm writing. What about a student who is sitting in Brazil? If he reads this case, will he understand this, what I'm writing? So keep away the jargon, keep away the slang, local slangs. Be very clear. So instead of saying the sales kept on decreasing, okay, so you should write the sales started to decrease from so and so year to so and so year. The sales shot up. Instead of that, the sales increased by 8%. Okay, so be very clear as to what you're talking about. Because when you have these ambiguous statements, it might be 8% for me, it might be 3% for you, somebody else, it might be 30%. So therefore, no ambiguous statements. Yeah. So keep it very simple English. I know this case study is about facts, narrating facts. You take from several sources on the internet or published domain. So it's very important that you paraphrase, but ensure that you don't lose the original meaning of that particular, paragraph or the article that you are taking it from. So as I said, completeness is very, very important. Don't lose hanging sentences. Complete it. Also, another very important thing, you might love a brand, you might love a company a lot. Okay, students like it, you like it. So there's no point in presenting a positive picture of the company. As a writer, you have to take a neutral stand. Don't show the positive side, don't show the negative side too much. Okay, show both of them in equal balance. This is what the company was good for. This is what the critics were saying the company is not good at. Okay, so bring both pictures together, because let the students decide. Okay, so you should not influence the students thinking in the classroom. Okay, so and as I said, no analysis, that should be kept away from the case. No concept description. Okay, always use in past tense, simple past tense, because if you have to write and publish now, the case probably will be read in 2022 or 2023, by which time all the events are already past, right? So always better to keep it in simple past, so that the connectivity to the case and the case events are still intact. Okay, also you can avoid a lot of back forth reading. Okay, already you have talked about 1989 and again you are talking about the same event later. This back forth reading can be avoided, contradictory sentence can be avoided. Also, if there are too many numbers, you can take that and create a table and put it there rather than putting it in the text. Okay. Um, Data repetition can also be avoided, like the back forth reading. And finally, no use of adjectives. Okay, no use of adjectives. So, and if you happen to use adjective, supplement it immediately with a fact. Okay, so this is very, very important, because adjectives can lead to different meanings to the readers, and it could result into some other analysis. Yeah. So there are quick formatting guidelines. As a team, you guys can decide, okay, when it comes to numbering, you know, font type, style and size, or you guys can decide, the team can decide, okay, we are going to follow APA 6th edition or APA, 7th edition. So that you can do it. But as a team, it's good if you can decide on this. If there are repetitive sources, how do I put it in footnotes? What should be the date format, number format? So all of this can be decided. Okay, so as a team you can decide it. If okay, again, if you need help on this, I can definitely help you, but as a team you can come up with a standard set of guidelines for case writing. Yeah, another important part of case study writing is editing. Okay, so you have to check few things, whether the theme is clear, whether it is reader friendly. At the end of the day, it is for students. If your students are not able to understand, the whole point is lost. What is the learning value? Have I captured all the information? Whether the facts are authentic and accurate? Have I taken it from the right sources? Yeah. So these things are important to do a checklist. But apart from that, there are 3 levels of editing you should do. One is subject matter expert. Okay, give it to another faculty who teaches the same course. Okay, ask him, will you take it to your course? Is it going to be of any use to you? Okay, this is subject matter expert editing. Second thing is language editing. The third is technical editing. So technical editing is give it to a case study professional who knows how to write case studies. Is the narrative correct? Is there back forth reading? Okay, are there sentences which are ambiguous? So all of these things can be checked by a technical editor. Okay. Then you have to test the case in the class. Okay. So you have to check whether the audience understands the learning outcomes. Are the learning outcomes coming out? Whatever the case study was written for, is it being discussed? Are there any gaps in the case? As in, this thing was there, but students never discussed about it. So should I keep it in the case or remove it? If I have to keep it in the case, do I need more data? So these are some questions that you have to ask, and you have to check whether the learning objectives, remember trigger level, you wrote down the learning objectives, whether those learning objectives are being achieved through this case discussion or not. So this is very, very important. Okay. Then you're writing a case study is not complete, because most of the publishers ask for a teaching note. Okay, so this is my experience, this is my saying, this is my quote. A good case study is a good teaching note. Okay. In fact, what I feel is if not a full teaching note, at least a teaching frame you should develop first and then write a case. No point in writing a beautiful business story which does not have learning outcomes for your students. So therefore, I strongly believe that a good case study is a good teaching note. Okay. So what should be there in the teaching notes? A case summary, the teaching objectives of the case. Okay. What do you want your students to learn? Who is the audience? Is it, postgraduate students, undergraduate students? Which course, which concept it is connected to? It's very important. Teaching plan for a 90 minutes class, how much you have to spend. So you can put it for 60 minutes class also. But the idea is to say that don't waste too much time discussing about the company. The discussion should be, a large part of the discussion should be on the issue. Okay. Then you should also give leading questions, how the teacher will have to open the discussion. What are the key questions that you should ask and invite discussions, and what probably could be the discussion. And please note, whatever you put as explanation for the question, that data should come from the case. If it's not coming from the case, then what's the point? Okay, what's the point? So therefore, they read the case, but to answer the question, they have to go to n number of sources, then there's no point. Okay, please let's understand, a case study is a replica of what the student will face as a manager, right? Whatever problem he is going to face, that I have put it in 4 pages and given to him, right? And therefore, if and I'm sure as a manager he will not have time, he has to quickly take decisions, he has limited data, all that is there in the 4 pages. If for seeking answers, if he's going out to multiple sources but not the case, then it is not a good case. Okay, so please keep this in mind. Teaching note is a very important part of writing case study. Yeah. And the final part of the teaching note should be faculty experience. So what was your experience as a teacher when you use this? Actually, this entire teaching note is the experience of the case writer in the class. Okay, so therefore you write the teaching note after you do testing of the case. Not once, 2-3 times you can test it and then write the teaching note. But the teaching frame should be kind of be there either on paper or at the back of your brain when you are writing the case itself, because your teaching objectives and the learning outcomes of the case should be one and the same. If they are different, then something has gone wrong. Okay, now where to publish? Oh yes, we have a lot of journals. There are a lot of international journals. There are Indian journals. There are Scopus Index journals. Okay, I'm sure all of you are also aware of Scopus Index journals. So quite a few, at least about 6 to 8 have come across, which are Scopus Index journals, which are only for case studies. Only thing is you have to check out whether they take secondary data case studies, because some journals are very particular that they want primary data based case studies. Okay, and with teaching notes. So quite a few journals are there. There are some journals which have 4 articles and 1 case. Yeah, you can check that out. Then of course, yes, Emerald we have Richard Ivey. Yes, you can join hands with ICFI to write case studies. We have Harvard Publishing. So all of this is definitely a possibility. Then we have magazines. ICFI has a magazine called Casefolio. Okay, you can, that's a magazine which gets published every quarterly, and you can publish your case studies there. Independently, you can use the services of the Case Center, caseplace.org. You can publish the case study there. Only thing is they don't have a review. So they ask the institution to set up a review team, because they have very limited resources, and they simply check whether the case looks good and then they publish it. Yeah. Very recently, the Case Center has launched a journal. I am also the reviewer for this particular journal. I am in the review board of this particular journal. There's also an international journal, a journal on instructional case studies. I'm on the review board of this too. Yeah. Of course, there are book publishers. Preeti was just mentioning to me that she was compiling a lot of case studies to be published. So that's very interesting. So if each one of you from your respective domains give two case studies, right? So you can make a good book of about 10 case studies, publish it on behalf of university, make it available in bookstores, make it available for your own teaching in the course. That can be definitely done. Also you can have book publishers who will approach you and say, we are writing a book, can you give case studies? Okay, so this can also happen. Okay, as I said, case book compilation can also happen. So yes, there are multiple opportunities for you to publish case studies. So only thing you have to decide, if you're going to do it as a lone wolf individually, what are the resources that you have for publishing? Are you going to do it as a team, as the business management department? So can you look at it, look at institutionalizing the entire case writing process? Then if all faculty decide to write, let's say about 8 case studies in a year, so can we publish it in one particular place? So these are some things that you can think of as a team. Yeah. And yeah, I will be ending my session very soon. Okay. Uh, I hope Preeti also mentioned to me that the head of the department would also be here. So I was thinking, see, this is a 2 hour, roughly about 2 hours, I mean less than 2 hours session for all of you to get sensitized to what opportunities you have for case writing. But what I feel is this should not stop here. Okay, so there are a few pointers which I think I should offer to you. Otherwise, simply coming here and talking is it does not make any sense. So one is what I have understood is uh, focus more on case teaching. Start using case studies in your class. I've seen a lot of good case teachers becoming good case writers. My story is different. I started to write case studies and then moved to case teaching. But if you start appreciating the usage of case studies in the class, use it more and more, you kind of get to understand, how the cases are written. So it becomes easy to write case studies. But most importantly, what's the point of writing a case which you can't teach? So therefore, focus on, as an institution, on case teaching. Case writing can also happen side by side. Second thing is also build a team of reviewers. Need not necessarily be in Oman. It can be from any part of the world, and as long as they are ready to help you, yeah, you should go ahead. Set up a reviews team. This review team should comprise of people who are from subject knowledge experts, also people who are case writers themselves, who have been case writers and case reviewers. So bring them into this particular team. The third thing is, you should. I'm ready to offer suggestions as to how you have to integrate case studies into your course plans. How you can train your faculty on teaching. At the same time, you should also train your students on how to learn from case studies. Correct. So you have to also have sessions for your students to train them on using case studies, how you use read data, put data from here and there and compile it together, make meaning out of it. You have to train your students. Okay, and also on the assessment part. So like for example, your internal assessments can be based on case study analysis, case study discussions. So we extensively do that in IBS. I think this is very, very important as an institution that wants to extensively use case studies. And the fourth thing that I can do, the least that I can do is send an invitation in case we conduct any events in the future to Bangalore to be part of case study writing, teaching workshops, or ask you to write a case and present it in the conference. So this definitely I can do for all of you. Okay. With that, I end my presentation and I'm open for any questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The questions can be posted in the comment section. Ma'am, one question is from my side. Because
Yes, ma'am.
after attending your session, like I can say 2 years back, after that I have written three types of case studies. I'll mention it. One was the organization specific, which you have reviewed when I was presenting in the IBS Bangalore. That was about the organization specific. Then I have written one conversation based case study. So
Okay.
it was all about the having a conversation, and we try to identify the problem, and we try to discuss the situations that what could have been done. The third case study that I have written is about the comparison of the two institutions with the good leaders and the good organization.
Hmm.
So, when I have implemented these case studies in my class, what I have found is that when the students are understanding and reading the cases, they give me some inputs which I have not even thought about in my teaching note,
Okay.
like because I carry my teaching note. So at
Yeah.
times I find it difficult to very much specific to that case, like so how to come out with that problem, that it should be specific. Sometimes I feel that I get diverted with two topics or two characters.
Okay. I got it. I got it. So that is where class testing becomes very important. So when you do class testing, you realize that some point which you never thought will come up in the discussion, students are talking about it. Okay. So now the question that you have to ask yourself is it very important and is it connected to the learning outcome of the case? Is it connected to the concept that you are trying to teach? If the answer is yes, highlight that particular point, bring it in your teaching note. But on the other hand, you might have also come across situations where you thought students will discuss this point, but they have not discussed. Okay? And if it is very important for the learning outcomes of the case, you must highlight it. Okay? You must highlight it. You probably must give more data there in that particular point, so students pick it up and come for the discussion. See, the teaching through case studies is an entirely different story. Entirely different story. You are the magician. You have to decide which rabbit to pick out and which scarf to pull out. All of that, you have to decide. So it is entirely orchestrated. What question you should ask so that they touch upon that point is in your hands. Okay. So either what I feel is either there are some gaps in the case, Preeti, or I feel probably the kind of questions that you asked in the case during the orchestration, during the discussion, maybe these questions were not brought out, or some questions were misunderstood by the student, and therefore they touched upon those points. So only these two things would have happened: either there are gaps in the case, or there are some points which you kind of ignored while drafting the questions when you are asking in the class. These 2 points might have occurred.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This has happened during the testing session only. So I was just
Test.
trying to avoid that lag time that may happen before the checking and testing. So during
Correct.
testing only, I tested with the three different institutions. So they gave me
uh,
three different inputs. So that is what I
okay.
wanted to know. Like from initial stage only, I should be able to focus on those
Yeah.
points, ma'am.
So now what you can do is, since it is in the testing stage, you can go and recheck and rework on the case or the teaching note
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for your inputs, ma'am.
before you go for publishing. I'll just touch upon assessment. See, one is assessment, exam assessment. At the end of the exam, you write a caselet and give it for the students to write in the examination analysis. So one is written analysis. Written analysis also should not be like summary. Very clearly, you have to identify the rubrics parameters, create the rubric, and ensure that the case study analysis is done properly, the report is given properly. In the class, when students are talking individually, I mean, in my class, there are no group presentations. Everybody talks. Okay. So in the class, when they are talking, yeah, I am noting down who is talking, what they are talking. Are they contributing to the development of the discussion? Are they taking us back to something else? Should I give a negative mark to him? So this kind of rubric also I can create. It's a little tedious. It requires you to be watchful, but then that's the whole point of a case discussion facilitator. You are a facilitator. You are not a teacher. Okay. So there are different assessment methods for case studies. For written analysis, rubrics are different. For class discussion, rubrics are different. If you are very particular about presentations, the rubrics are different. So we can decide on the parameters and design the rubric which we can use for assessments. Ma'am, I think I answered your
Thank you, ma'am.
question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Any
Yeah, and
participant who has a question here?
Madam, I have one question.
yes, sir.
What about the ethical approval from the organization about which we are writing case studies? Because way back 2007, I wrote a case study about a government organization with the oral approval from the chairman with whom I have proximity. I got it approved and published in a conference by an university. Whereas about my organization, where I work, a private organization, when they outsource the activities, when I wrote and sent to the organization, I had no answer at all. I didn't get any consent at all. So my question is, what to do with this? How to manage this situation?
Okay. Sir, one thing is you have to get a written no objection certificate from the organization or the company if you are writing a case based on primary data. Like you conducted an interview with managing director and all of these people. In fact, it would be very good if you have a an agreement signed that we are writing a case about you. This is the data that you will give. This is the data that will show in the case. This data we will not present. We will not put you in a bad situation. We will not criticize you. We will look at we'll take a balanced look at what you have done. So get these things clear. So let it be on paper. Okay. So that way you are protecting yourself from any kind of legal issues in the future. Second thing is, even the case publishers will ask for a no objection certificate. So you have to give this. Let's say you are not writing a primary database case study. You are writing a secondary database. So it's there in the magazines, it's there in the internet sources. So there you don't have to take permission from the organizations because it is already there in the published domain. If it is through a login and password and you have copyright are protected, it is copyright protected, then you have to write to them and take permission, verbal permission, written permission to put it in your case. But a lot of data, like for example on CII site, Confederation of Indian Industry, or some newspaper site or a magazine site, you have the articles there, right? So for these articles, when you're taking data from here, you don't have to take permission. That's why I said every little, somebody said something, you're putting the quote verbatim, put a source. You're saying the company's stock price fell by 8%, put a quote, cite the source. Okay. So wherever you are using numerical data, wherever you are using factual data, wherever you are copying verbatim about what the CEO said or MD said and so on, for everything use the endnotes, cite the source. The entire hyperlink, exactly the way you people have decided on what should be the formatting guidelines, or you can follow APA 6th or 7th edition or Harvard or MLA or any of these. Yeah. So this way you are protecting yourself.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this question. Ma'am, we are running short of time, and here I would like to conclude the session. But thank you so much, ma'am. Like after listening to you, again, I'm motivated to implement these learning by developing and writing the case studies. And I will also try to ensure that we work in a group and a team and try to focus on the domains like you were motivating us to that we can work in a team to publish the cases. So I'm sure that whatever the inputs that has been given by you, we are going to use them for writing an effective case studies by using the material that is available to us and the reputed houses, publishing houses that you have mentioned, and we'll try to pitch it there. And as you have already mentioned in the last slide that you can provide us with the review support. So we will definitely would like to send our cases and take a review for that. So thank you so much, ma'am. The workshop has given a lot of inputs on the case teaching and writing. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you so much. And like on the behalf of business department, I would like to present a token of appreciation to university. Thank you so much, ma'am. So
thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I request Dr. Sarangpani sir to propose a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon all. Esteemed HOD, HOSs, guest speaker Professor Bharati S. Gopal, faculty members. It is my great privilege and pleasure to extend hearty vote of thanks to all connected to this event, and specifically our gratitude to the invited guest speaker, Professor Bharati S. Gopal of ICFI School, Bengaluru, India, for imparting new vistas, disseminating knowledge on case development and writing in a comprehensive way. Madam, we have been writing for our students, but definitely this program will elevate the attendees to the publication level. We will use the input of the program and turn it into output form of case application very soon. We come to know from your profile that you share your knowledge by offering many workshops in this context, and it is in fine tune with the saying Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, which means spreading and wisdom knowledge everywhere. Let there be light there. All of this for your future endeavors too, madam. God bless you.
Thank you.
We
Thank
thank
you.
the research committee and staff development committee for organizing such a wonderful program, and also the faculty members who attended and who are going to be benefited by this program. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your time and for this valuable contribution. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.